Well, g'day everybody. Here we go again, kicking a home run, heading towards Cape Town, which is all pretty interesting, pretty radical in many ways when we look at where they've been and what they've done and experienced over the last 10 months or something. It was a big shock. We do these things called entrant updates, and the entrant updates look just like an email newsletter to the entrants, and they're all numbered in sequence. They're official document for passing on information and blah blah blah. And when I was writing the header to that, I thought getting ready for Christmas lunch in Cape Town, or Christmas dinner rather, and the official prize giving just hit me like a brick. It's like, holy dooly, we were doing this in Portugal last Christmas, and here we are. We're now in Cape Town, so very interesting indeed. And all looking good. They've some of the boats have got away, which we'll go through in a minute. And I'm going to explain a few different things. So while we're waiting for some people to come up, I'll just review the photos that were there at the beginning. This is the V&A waterfront, which is where we're actually going. So you can see, and this blue sky day, you get a lot of this. So the weather down there now, it's into summer, and it's right in the tip of the Southern Ocean. You get clear blue sky days, beautiful ocean, all that sort of stuff. But it's a hugely busy, industrial port, you might say. A lot of shipbuilding, ship repair, maintenance, all that sort of thing happens over here to the right. So the commercial port is off to the right of this picture. And then in the middle there, where you see that cruise ship and so on, that's the start of the V&A waterfront. And this is it here, massive development. So the boats will come around the little breakwater in the middle and come down into the V&A waterfront, and then as soon as they get in, they basically turn right, and they'll be berthed pretty much right where the in the bow of this cruise ship, right? If you can see that sitting there, that's the position where it's going to go. This is the number one spot in South Africa for tourism. Oh, I shouldn't say that. How do you describe it? It's a major centre, right? And this is they get 70,000-80,000 people a day. Foot traffic walking along the wharves and into all the shopping centres. There's all this entertainment in there as well. So that's where they're going. And if I plug this to the next one, this is the actual berth here. This is a shot I pinched off the internet just now. That was when the Volvo race was there, and you can see all the boats moored to those fingers. So that's where they're going to be. That's the rugby stadium up the back there. This is the headland going around. The finish line is just off. You can see the Ferris wheel there, or the finish line is just off this little bay here. It goes off to the side, so that's where they're going to be, in the absolute thick of it. It's fantastic. All restaurants everywhere. It's really quite cool. The Royal Cape Yacht Club is our host, of course, but the club's further down, and we're having the Christmas dinner prize giving there. This is where the berthing goes. Now, the berthing, we've been working on this for a year. It was finally approved only, I think it was Friday last week. Incredibly busy marina, and so we've basically got one of the pens here, and so we can stack 9 boats in there, and there's an overflow for 2. And if they need this, those 2 come out and stick their bow into the bottom here. So it's pretty tight. We've got berthing from the 1st of December onwards. This is the Pier 6 where they're going to hang out. Those red crosses, the Clipper, the Robert Knox Johnson's Clipper race was here. They just left on the weekend, on Sunday, I think it was, to sail towards, they're going from here to, jeepers, do they go to Perth? I forget now. I think they go to Perth, to Fremantle, and then they go around to Whitsundays. Anyway, they've gone, but what happens is they're so busy here with different requirements, it's a commercial operation. They're pulling out these other pens. So while there looks like there's a lot of space there, there's not. They're really busy, and we're very lucky to get there. Everywhere else in town's full. We know that. I don't know what we would have done if V&A hadn't been good to us and got us in. So that's where it's happening if you're in Cape Town. A couple of boats got away. Renault got away. We'll talk about that in a minute. The 2 men at the moment leading the fleet. Kerry stayed behind. So we'll explain that in a minute with the entrant reports. That's Kerry and... sorry, not Kerry. This is Dan and Renault on their way. And Dan's well and truly got Renault in his sights, so that'll be fun to watch. But we might be getting to Cape Town early, so whilst there's weather stops, which look like they're not going to happen, we might stop the fleet for a pit stop in Simonstown. This is Simonstown. It's a very, really nice place. been there a few times. Got a great yacht club, great marina. Here's the yacht club on the right. This is the marina. It's the South African naval base. They've got their naval fleet here in Simonstown. There's a couple of marinas, a couple of yacht clubs, but we may be stopping the fleet there for about 4 days before they get to Cape Town. So I'll explain that. Oh, sheep, that's what happened there. Now I've disappeared. There I am. So, welcome back, everybody. This week also is a bit of a nightmare for me in terms of scheduling because we've got a big Golden Globe Race conference happening here in Les Sables d'Olonne on Friday and Saturday, setting up on Thursday and all that sort of stuff. So I'll do tracker updates all the way through, but I'm not sure what's going to happen on Friday and Saturday. Yeah, Saturday I can probably do. They might be earlier than normal while it's dark here as soon as I get up or something like that. Anyway, and I've got some entrant reports here to explain what's going on, but let's get straight to the tracker and see exactly what is happening. Here we go. So you're on the tracker. Now I'll get onto the tracker. Bingo. And a few of them turned too early. Adam's got the deal. So you can see what's happening here, but you don't know about this graphic. They're obviously watching their GPS. And the objective now is to basically get out in the current. And that's sort of what they've done. So we've currently got on the water. Jacob's there. He left about 5 o'clock this morning. We just put a post up, shared his post. Adam's underway. And then we've got, we have to build this up a bit. Then we've got Ayrton, Peeler, and that's Eric is underway. And then Renault and Dan side by side. Position doesn't mean much at the moment, but they obviously, this graphic may not be totally correct. It's a bit hard to say, but certainly at that point they were heading out. That was the last 4 hour, or that was the position up until 8 o'clock this morning. And then bingo, boom, they're down here. But by this, they're not quite in the fastest movement. If this was correct, out here it might be three, who knows what, 3 or 4 knots. In here, it's if the graphic was correct, it's showing only about 1 knot, but I don't think the graphic's totally right. It's showing Ayrton doing 3.7 and Renault doing 4.3. Anyway, but that's their current position, no pun intended. And if we look at the weather, it's pretty self-explanatory. Hang on a sec. Jeepers, I've got to get back into the swing of it. We go to the wind. Bingo, very, very light wind. So that's what's going on. And in fact, if we look at the big picture here, I was actually surprised. I was looking at it all yesterday, and I thought that, they were sort of saying it was terrible weather yesterday, and it was raining and windy and all that sort of stuff. And they said, oh, we'll go sometime tomorrow morning, blah, 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 blah. And maybe they were bluffing each other, and no one wanted to say exactly when they're going out. But I thought, jeepers, because there's a very light wind session here happening in the weather. I haven't looked at the weather this morning. I'm looking at it the first time with you. And there was a wind shadow, so no wind at all coming up, midday today over there. And I thought, crikey, they'll be drifting. They won't get out to the current. And then the first word I got was Eric was checking. And Eric was planning to leave at midnight or something. Didn't hear anything else from the others. But that was the time to go. And that's pretty much what a few of them did. Because, if it goes light, you're going to be drifting there. But get out in the current, they're off and running. So by the look of the weather there, that's probably only about, 5 knots of wind. But at least it's already swinging. The swing is happening earlier than what was projected yesterday. Yesterday it was projecting that the wind wouldn't swing until after midday. But you can see there now it's already started to swing. So anyway, the current speed and everything doesn't really mean a lot, but let's go through it anyway, just so you can see the differences. Jacob doing 2.7. He's not in the current yet, right? And he got very little wind, so he wouldn't have wanted to get out any later. Adam's got a bit of current there. You can see 3.9. And Adam's heading into the right direction if that graphic was right, but who knows? So Peeler 3.7, Ayrton 3.7, Dan Eric rather 3.6, and Renault 4.3 and 4.3. Hang on a sec, I better push it up a bit. Okay, and Dan is 4.3. Okay, so there's not a lot to show you there, so let's just go straight to the weather and see what's happening with the forecast. And look at the long-term situation. I've been following it every day. It's been amazing. And basically, they're sitting on top of a beautiful weather bomb, I call it. Oh, wrong way. You couldn't ask for a better forecast. It's absolutely stunning because you've got a massive high. This is basically a massive high. This area of no wind here is the center of the high, and they've all joined together. So over here you've got the South Atlantic high, right in the middle, which you always get. I think we've discussed this before, but anyway, it just sort of sits there and it moves over to the east slowly but surely. But what happened was there was another high pressure system here, and they joined together. So that's exactly what you want, because the wind on the top of the high, remember, it's going from east to west, and this could last for a week. And normally, there would be no requirement on that basis to make any weather stops. Now, remembering we allowed 16 days for weather stops. They've delayed a couple of days in Durban that comes off the weather stop situation. So, and if we just move this through, I'm going to quickly go through. You can see it's pretty much holding. It's trying to separate about here. You can see the South Atlantic separating a bit, but it's still generally keeping the winds up the top. There's a bit of a, I'll come in a bit closer now. There's a bit of a headwind coming here, but it's not strong at all. A guy like Renault, I think, bugger that. Why stop? Why not just keep going and push into it? Because when you stop, you use up time going in, you use up time coming out, and the end of the sailing only happens when they anchor in port versus or tie up with a line ashore. So it'll save a lot of time to keep pushing on for sure. So you can see then there's a very quiet patch, but there's nothing what you call the strong headwinds, and then it's starting to. So you've got the transition in the middle here, where you've got this sort of light to whatever headwind, and then it's rolling in the middle and starting to head around again. So as soon as they push through that, bingo, they've got more favourable winds that will ride them all the way into Cape Town, which is pretty phenomenal. So it means they could get there. You can see it's still holding, because that's the other high come across. Still holding. Once you turn the corner, it goes normal. There's the 25th. They could be in Cape Town by that time. And then stronger winds on the beam as well. So there you go. And there's some issues with that, because we only have berthing. We've suggested berthing, and it's taken a long time to get this happening. We've said the earliest we're ever going to need it is the 1st, and they based everything on that. We start on the 28th, and I've got to start a conversation to see how far forward we can push it. The other one is Jane and I looked at changing airfares, but there's nothing that works for us. We'd have to get out of here on the 23rd, and we're not wrapped up from the conference here. So that's not working either. So we're I've got off the tracker, but there's not a lot to talk about with the tracker at the moment. So I'm going to come back here. Where are we here? Boom. So what we're thinking we may have to do is slow them up. And it's possible that we will, depending on what happens in the next 24, 48 hours, we may send them into Simonstown. As I said before, it's a nice marina, great yacht club, and let them have a nice time there for about 3 or 4 days, and then set them off. And depending on what approvals we get to extend the berthing in the M&W waterfront, V&A waterfront. Where did I get M&W? The V&A waterfront, which is Victoria and Alfred waterfront. We've spent a lot of time there. We'll see, how long that stopover might be. Anyway, and if we did, that's a pit stop. It's not part of the weather routine. At the moment, the weather days, we've allocated 16 days of stops to be decided by the entrant, wherever they want, whenever they want, for how long as they want, and it doesn't cost them anything, right? It's managed the sailing time. If you only use up 3 or 4 of those days, it's no advantage, so there's no pressure to speed on, but we count the time at sea. In the case of if we go into Simonstown, it's a pit stop, and that means that everyone has to stop there regardless. So they come in, whatever time they arrive, they stay 4 days, and then they can leave and carry on. So it doesn't upset the balance of performance at sea either. Anyway, that's that one. Just coming back to, I'll come back now to the tracker and explain hang on, you're on the tracker, I'm on the tracker. The track around here and how it relates to the next couple of days, what they're trying to beat. So the first potential stop that works is Port Elizabeth, which is down here. It's about, what do we got? Oh, no, there is East London, okay? So they could go for East London if they had a problem, but Port Elizabeth is probably better and they might get there. 340 miles. This breeze is going to kick in a little bit. So 340 or 250 are the two options they've got to stop if they want to stop. There's that one there. Okay, so we get rid of that. We come back to today's weather. I'm just going to push that through and we'll see what's happening. So this is every 3 hours now. Hang on, I've got a pop-up turned up here. So here we go, coming through. So you can see the breeze, beautiful breeze, great sailing with the current. When that kicks in, they should be doing 5, 6, 7, 8 knots. Okay, they should be doing 8 knots. So there's 160, 170, 180 miles they could get in 24 hours. So here we come through to 24 hours. That's 24 hours from now, and the breeze is still kicking on. So that means they'll be pushing on, if it holds through, pushing on all the way to Port Elizabeth, but it gets quiet. Okay, but the wind then, you can see it comes on the beam. So it's not headwinds, it's just lighter winds, and they'd still be sitting in the current. So let's just go for 2 days. And there it turns. Okay, so this is a little puff that's it's very hard to predict this. It's very much affected. When you have the wind on the coast here, you've got the sea breeze, land breeze effect, the heat and so on. That's where you get all these holes, and it's unstable, but it looks like it's swinging a little bit towards the southwest maybe, which would be fine on the port tack, and they could probably still make it down because they're starting to turn around the corner there. So, that's a decision they'll make, and some might stop, some might keep going because it's not really, that's only a day and a half, right? So here we come now to, there's 2 days, and it's borderline, it's light. It's only 5 to 15 knots. And the only issue there is you've got it gets a current, but that's not going to put up a big sea. Let's just see what this is saying for waves at that point. No, it's still pretty low. So I think if it was me, as long as the forecast is actually correct, and that's what they get on the water, you'd probably be tempted to keep going. I know Renault will be pushing it, and so will Dan and probably Peeler as well. They'll all be talking to themselves. They might be in VHF all the way, because then by the time you get into this is 2 days, you can see there's no wind. It's all light, so it's not forecasting a big puff. So I think some will keep going. Now, strategically, the advantage of keeping going, and this is how this works, is that once you turn the corner, 2 things happen. One is, if we look at currents now, you're actually getting out of the current, right? This one, there's no space between the current and the land. Once you get to Port Elizabeth way, you've got manoeuvring room. It's not so bad. You're not going to get caught in the current if the wind goes bad against you as well. So, and then this is a dividing line. How you used to see the dividing line of weather when you get to Durban, like the big northerly coming down here and southerly there, and then it'd usually change. This is the next one. It's quite common to have the winds not predominantly, but often heading up in an easterly way. They split around this way. So anyway, so it's one big change when you actually get past Port Elizabeth. Make sure you can breathe a little bit easier. You don't have to deal with that current. So this is on 2 and a bit days. 2 and a bit days, it's still pretty stable, but maybe slow. Then there's another bit of a puff, but not too strong. This is on day 3. You can see there, it's in and out. So when you got that move, the sea doesn't get a chance to build up, but there's very light drifting conditions. It's just on the 21st. Then it starts to turn again, and that's where it gets favourable heading up around to Cape Town. So, and it's possible that they could, with this weather, you could go all the way, but we've got logistics issues. logistics with V&A Waterfront, logistics with ourselves. We really want to be there. Jane's got visa issues. If we Jane's got to be there. If we get Jane in early, she'd have to leave before the start. So anyway, we'll see what progresses. Now, where's Simonstown? I'll show you exactly where Simonstown is. So as they're coming around here, when they get to there, instead of carrying on around to Cape Town, they would make a 13-mile diversion up into this bay here. This is called False Bay. This is False Bay right there. So it's 13 miles up here, and then you're in Simonstown right there. And it would be a pit stop, so we'd develop a finish line here in the bay, cross that, then they have 3 or 4 days in Simonstown, enjoy the club, enjoy the surrounds. There's some pretty interesting things to do there. This is False Bay, as I said. We'll zoom right in and I'll show you, just so you know what's going on. Part of the global tour of people and places. Bear in mind, we only decided this on Saturday, so we, as an option, we've got a few different options, but this is our preferred one. You can see here's the naval base right here, in area and commercial docks and so on. And then this is Simonstown Yacht Club and Marina right there. And it's a pretty cool place, well protected. There is a great hospitality reputation. So hopefully the Marina might be able to put us in. And we've got Jarrett, who is an OGR competitor, friend of Kirsten and all the rest of it. He's the actual OCC False Bay port officer. And that's the same as Vince. Vince was the OCC port officer in Durban. So anyway, Jarrett's onto the program right now. He's going to talk to them this morning. We've sent him a proposal with all the details of the boats and bits and pieces. So that's a bit of a turnaround. And then depending on what happens with V&A, if we can get him in, earlier, then we'll try. So that's the big issue there. That's about all I've got to show you on that one. So I'm going to come back here again now. So we're back up. And, I can't. My screen's gone funny again. There we go. I can't access the slide down the comments. Why does it do this? I can't move the comments. Okay, anyway, no problem. Right, reports from entrants. I've got a few here giving us updates. They all had an amazing time. They're amazing time. Hang on a sec. Where are we? So many. Interest notice. There's the reports. Japers. Hang on. I'm still here somewhere there. Entry report. Got it. Okay, so we had a couple here. Okay. Saturday, I don't know whether we did that. Trekker's ready for the next leg. We did Trekker, Jasmine, Loving Durban, Safari Epic. I think I read that. We're down to Immortal Game. I've been enjoying our 12. When was that? That was yesterday. No, 16. Yeah, yesterday. Okay, Immortal Game. Have been enjoying my time in Durban very much. The hospitality here is second to none, and I will be sad to leave. Enjoyed the last few days on safari. Now keeping a close eye on the weather to make the passage south as far as the weather allows, onwards towards Cape Town. Origami from Kerry. My mother's funeral is on Monday, so I shall no doubt wave off the fleet and find myself in Durban for another week or so, awaiting the next good weather window to carry me along the wild coast in favourable winds and a strong Agulhas current. I do not mind being isolated from the fleet. Sometimes it's good for the soul. Long-range scanning and forecast beyond 72 hours is of limited utility, but one thing is certain, there will be another good high-pressure system stacked up for me to work perhaps better than the current one, perhaps worse. Meanwhile, I have been back in a laser, that's an Ilka, dinghy, coaching a young Royal Natal Yacht Club sailor for the upcoming national championships, and I was able to set up a morning with the local Sea Scouts, putting something back into the sport I love. So that's Kerry. We've got some good material. We've been too busy to put it together on the Sea Scouts. He brought them all down to the marina, showed them the boats and bits and pieces. So we'll put a post up on that shortly. It's quite a bit of fun. They were completely blown away. I'm a dib, dob, the whole thing, Cubs and Scouts. Love them. And so they had a great time looking at the boats, the fleet. Okay, let me just check here. Okay, I've got some movement. I can see and say good day to people. I think we've covered off on everything. Adrian, I've asked this on Facebook, but you're here. So what make and size of anchor are the fleet using? They've got different ones. Some have got quite heavy ones and more chain than others. But the minimum requirement, if I remember rightly without looking at the notice of race, and you can get on the notice of race and just download it. You can read all the safety gear. I think it's 6 kilo is the minimum anchor required with the chain and warp and so on. So, but some of them got heavier ones. So, and we recommend 2 anchors. G'day, Sean. Have you spoken with the guys at Hout Bay Yacht Club? No, we know Hout Bay quite well. We did in the early days. We were locked out of Cape Town. We could not get anywhere in Cape Town to put the boats. So we had 2 options: sail them in, have a crane waiting, and crane them out of the water and put them in a yard. Right? There was no berthing available. That started a year ago. Or not go to Cape Town. And so we did actually speak to Hout Bay back in the day. It was some time ago, about taking the whole fleet there, and that was going to be the stopover. We couldn't get into Cape Town. And so they're really nice guys and all the rest of it. So, but we've got 3 options for False Bay, but this is our preferred option. So let's wait and see what they say. They don't even know if they're watching this. Sorry, we've sent you all the stuff, and I just got another message from Jarrett wondering if we'd heard yet. I've got to haven't checked the emails on that yet. So we're onto it now, and we'll wait and see. But we know Jeremy Bagshaw from the GGR. He's a member there. Ada's had a lot to do with the club at Simonstown, and we know it really well. We had a lot to do with the Navy and the admirals there and all the rest of it with the Ocean Globe Race that came in. We had 2 Navy ships to start the Ocean Globe Race from there. We had a visiting French ship, and we had really great time with the South African Navy. They were absolutely brilliant. They brought their latest sort of like mid-sized patrol boat, big one, a very impressive ship. And so we had a Navy ship on each end of the line. It was insane. So anyway, so let's just see. We'll keep our fingers crossed with Simonstown and see how we go. But yeah, we know Hout Bay's right there and friendly and all the rest of it. But let's wait and see. And yeah, love the Hunter 19. In fact, there's a direct connection with what you're saying here. Now Hunter 19 is a fantastic little keel boat, right? And that's part of my inspiration for little boats, which is part of the driving force for actually developing the 580 class. And why? Well, it's because in the very early OSTARs, it's the Observer Single-Hand Transatlantic races, there was a boat called Willing Griffin, right? And it was a Hunter 19, and he sailed across the Atlantic, and it was like, blow your eyes out. This is in the early 70s. And it always stuck with me. I got his book and read the book and blah, blah, blah. And then a mate of mine did the same thing. He bought a Hunter 19 and did crazy stuff, Rex and Louise. And so I've always loved, that's one of the 3 big issues about little boats for me. And lo and behold, I only found out about the Hunter 19 connection in Hout Bay a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago when we went cruise. No, it wasn't the BOC. It was, I forget when we were there, and I thought, cheapest, they've got a whole fleet. They resurrect them and rebuild them, and there's this whole fleet of Hunter 19s, which is really quite a cool boat. Anyway, they race them competitively in the club. Okay, hang on, I'm going to pop out. Go Jacob, dude's my favourite by miles. Yeah, he's a character, eh? Good fun. Sean, think Roy McBride is still OCC port officer at Hout Bay Yacht Club. Okay. Yeah, we got Jarrett there. He's waiting for me to reply to the message, so we'll wait and see. Thanks for that. G'day, Christine. Good to see you. Roberto. Hi, Don from Italy. We missed you. Oh, really? Okay. I'm back. Anyway, thank you very much. So thanks for following. Tell all your mates. And yeah, it's quite an epic now. So it's let's wait to see what happens in the next number of days. Okay. We'll see you later. I'll put this up because 2029, we will absolutely be involved with Durban again. Vince and all the people there. It was fantastic. So like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, comment, blah, blah, blah. See you later.